Roku's new streaming stick, the HDMI version, has made the smart features of new TVs and Blu-ray players pretty much irrelevant. It's a small, simple add-on that plugs into any available HDMI port and provides access to services such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, YouTube, my personal favorite Plex, Pandora, and over 1,000 other channels. It even comes with a physical remote, and all this for under $50. It's easy to confuse the HDMI version of the Roku streaming stick with the previous and still available Roku Ready streaming stick. The 40% more expensive Roku Ready stick was only compatible with devices that had a less common MHL compatible HDMI port, which made it a non-starter for most of our current equipment. The new stick works with any HDMI port. The Roku streaming stick also includes an RF remote, a 5-foot micro 5-pin USB power cable, and an AC adapter. The stick itself measures only 3.1 by 1.1 by 0.5 inches, and that includes the HDMI connector. It sports only a series of small air vents and a reset button that can thankfully be triggered with a bare finger, so no ballpoint pens are needed. It also has a power port. The need to supply separate power to the tiny stick may seem cumbersome, but most folks will be able to power the Roku using a USB service or media port on their TV or receiver instead of running a separate cable to a wall outlet. The standard USB connector makes it easy to purchase a shorter cable for a couple bucks from a shop like Monoprice to keep your cabling clean and hidden behind your other equipment. Anyone who's seen my reviews before knows that I am a stickler for good remotes, and the included Roku remote is light years ahead of most small remotes I've seen as of late. First off, it's not too small. It has a thickness that allows for an ergonomic finger groove and the use of common AA batteries. It features only 16 buttons with an intuitive layout that allows for a no-look operation, and it's a radio frequency remote, which means you don't have to aim it at your device. The range was great, and I had no trouble controlling the Roku through multiple walls at 20 feet away. Now on the downside, while the gray buttons have a nice rubbery matte feel to them, the most commonly used direction and selection buttons, which are in Roku purple, are a slick, hard plastic that feels unpleasant, and it makes button presses a little wonky. I'd really like to see the rubbery material used for all of the buttons. Additionally, the 4 shortcut buttons at the bottom can't be reassigned, and they're only useful if you need the advertised services. I know that featuring Blockbuster service helps drive the cost of the device down through partnership agreements, but this historically reviled brand will not be getting any of my presses anytime soon. I also miss the ability to plug headphones into the remote for private listening, a la the Roku 2 and 3 remotes, but now I'm really getting greedy considering the price tag. Overall, the remote gets a solid B+. Setup is very straightforward. You simply plug the streaming stick into any available HDMI port, connect the power, and the unit turns itself on. There's no power button. The Roku streaming stick uses only 2 watts at idle according to my meter, so it's really designed just to be left plugged in, running and ready, and should run you less than 1 penny per day according to my electric rates. After a brief splash screen, the Roku started with a step-by-step on-screen guide that allowed me to log into my wireless network, download the latest updates, and link to my Roku account. Some of this required having a web browser handy, but I just used my Nexus tablet from the comfort of my couch. The only downside I found is that the default setup options left the resolution at 720p and the audio settings at 2-channel. I had to manually change these settings to get to 1080p and 5.1 surround in the menu. As all HD TVs can properly process a 1080p 5.1 signal, I was surprised to find that these were not the default settings to ensure the best picture and sound. Diving into the operation of the device, Roku's service options are unrivaled. The recent addition of a YouTube channel means that Roku has pretty much every service available outside of Apple's walled garden. The channels, as Roku calls them, can be easily added from a web browser or from the device itself. An Android and an iOS app are available to cover the basic remote functions, and they make search and other text entry a bit speedier via a touchscreen. Other apps, like Plex, Roku, and YouTube, can cast to the Roku, triggering media to be played back on your big screen from your phone or your tablet. If you'd like to learn more about setting up Plex with the Roku, please see our tutorial video on that subject. Another big high point of the Roku software is the search feature. By entering in a title or a name, Roku searches multiple services to show you all of your viewing options. Entering in the name of the comedic god Harold Ramis brings up a list of his many great movies. Further selecting a title, like Ghostbusters, shows me multiple viewing options across many different services and includes prices. This saves you from having to load and check multiple services to find the one movie that you want to watch. The streaming stick performance was on par with other entry-level Roku devices, which is to say, it's a bit sluggish in use compared to a tablet or an HTPC. Channels take a bit of time to start up, even with my 30 megabit internet connection. Netflix, for example, showed the splash screen for a full 30 seconds before I was able to select content, which doesn't sound like much, but it feels like forever. Yes, when the video loads, it looks and sounds great. Just be prepared to fire up the Roku before you get your popcorn, not afterwards. The sub $100 Roku 3, with its faster processor, would probably be a better choice if you're a little impatient. For me, the Roku streaming stick is a no-brainer for anybody looking to step up to a more expensive television models just for the smart features. The $50 streaming stick is typically much less than the cost of bumping up a TV model, and it can be used on multiple televisions. The Roku and its apps are regularly updated for stability and new features, which is something that happens much more rarely with TVs and Blu-ray players. And the streaming stick makes the perfect travel companion for frequent hotel guests. With flat-screen TVs becoming more prevalent in hotels, you can now easily access your own media through Plex or use streaming services like Netflix and Amazon. Overall, for anyone who's been following streaming media players for a while, it's tough not to be impressed with the Roku streaming stick, especially considering the price tag of less than $50. You can now add access to just about every streaming service on any system with an HDMI port, and take it with you to a friend's house for a movie night or to a hotel room when you're traveling. If you don't mind something a little more intrusive, I'd probably still recommend upgrading to the donut-sized Roku 3 for the faster interface and the private listening option. But for those who like their equipment inexpensive and out of sight, there isn't much more that you could ask for.